Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to present to you the Little Starlight host team. Myself, Andrea Jaeger, Karen Vazquez, and Adriana Solarova. For this episode of Hosts Answer Questions and dun, 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 drum roll, volume 4. All right, first up, Marcus asked, why does Andrea wear beat type headphones and often Adriana and Karen do not? The question actually went on to ask me about why tennis players wear their headphones going into a match. Like they see a lot of players and athletes wearing these headphones. And I think for them, a lot of it, they want to stay in their zone. For me, it was just recommended, like, use this. I'm not the most tech savvy person, but if anybody wants to get, this is not a paid advertisement. You may notice, audience viewers, we have no paid advertisements in our episodes. That way you can listen to the episode without all of a sudden feel like you're getting sold something. So this is not a paid advertisement. We bought these. Obviously, I'm the only one that looks like Princess Leia for every episode. But it is, this is the kind. It's a Yeti. We get to choose. No, this is
that's a mic. That's a microphone, Andrea. So, Brad, here you go.
I gotta do this. Marcus asked me. Let me go find it. I'm in a closet. Hold on.
Oh my goodness.
We're just gonna keep this on. Hold on, everyone.
So I told you, Brad, this is gonna be a good one.
Okay. It says right and then left. So you gotta go. Right, then you fling the cord behind you like that, and this is like how to start your own. I think this is
okay. So I will clarify for everyone, why would you normally want to wear those? By the way, because if you have sounds outside of your studio or your room, and you want it to be quiet, you don't want to hear anything outside, just the audio that's coming from the podcast from your guest. You wear those headphones; they're sound insulating. So if I have no issues with that, I can wear these. That's why.
Yeah. Because sometimes you would ask us, hey, do you hear the lawnmowers or something? And we wouldn't, because I have my Princess Leia headphones on.
So now I have the headphones that cancel the sound from the outside. So I'm not disturbed by whatever's going on outside of the headphones.
Right. Good point. And the other reason I picked this question too is every time I put on my headphones, and this question reminded me of it as well. In third grade, I was in Mrs. Bridgman's class. She was an amazing teacher. And we were at the very end of the school with only one other class. It was like we were separate from everyone else. I don't know if they didn't. What was up with that? But the class next to us was a class of deaf students. And they were really cool. And when we had recess and lunch, everybody would come out and, go to their things. And a lot of those deaf kids were made fun of by other kids in classes and people going through the hallways. And I waited for them to come out of their class because they just were really cool. They were cool kids. And so I think about that because we have these for noise canceling and they don't hear things, but yet they could tell the mannerisms and the way that people spoke to them, because if someone just stands there and says something, they might not pick it up, but they can read lips really well and the body mannerisms. And it really reflected on these kids. And so I thought about that and this quote that I think of too, when, you come across people and it's like, how do they get through life? Like to be deaf or to be blind or to have a situation where it's really difficult, you have to adapt otherwise. And a lot of times those kind of people have gifts in other areas. They're talented in something else, really highly attuned in another way. But anyway, so the quote is, kindness is a language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. I thought that was kind of cool. So that's the whole reason it came up, and I didn't even bring the headphones. I brought the mic in. But
that's
anyway,
great. What a pretty quote.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yes.
Okay, so the next question is from Amber, and maybe it's in the festivity of the holiday season for her, and others have, many of the other viewers may have noticed that when you go in a store, decorations seem to be coming earlier and earlier. Like they come months and months and months before. And so I love that. I just go in there and I just like walk around it and it's so festive. I mean, you notice the festive colors and the sparkling lights, but there's kind of celebratory, when you celebrate a holiday and a memory and it's a good one, those kind of reminders of the decorations can help you with that. And so what I used to say to people is if you're ever having a tough day, go to a children's hospital. Walk through a children's hospital, because you'll really realize how blessed you really are and how brave these kids are. But times have changed, and you can't get into a children's hospital for the right reasons, but you can't get in unless you have permission to get in. So that's not really allowed. A long time ago, when we started children's hospital programs, you can come in at any time. Now you have to have, it's a whole security thing that's very different. But go through a store, and if you see those decorations, think of a really cool, positive memory. And what made me think of this question that came in is also, what about if people, when they think of a really good memory, immediately they go to one that was tough or hard? Because holidays can be hard on people. And so we have decided to all come together and share little stories about holidays so we can represent them for you. And maybe this will lift your spirits. So anyway, I'm going to, I'll bring up my a Christmas Eve one that was always fun for me. My family's European. My parents were European. And a lot of times they tell us stories how they didn't get presents for Christmas, but we would open our presents Christmas Eve, and they do fondue. So we'd have to, I don't know if any of you have had fondue, but you have to wait forever for fondue. It's like it cooks really long. It's this whole thing. And we'd be really excited. We'd have like one present under the tree.
Melted cheese.
No, it's not. You can have chicken. You can have beef. You can have other flavors. I got nothing in my cord back here. You can have all kinds of things.
That's amazing.
It is. And so we got this one game called Operation. Are either of you familiar with Operation? Okay, so you have this really tiny little instrument, and this man is there with a glowing red nose. And if you hit the side and don't pull out his organ or his bone or something, then it goes really loud. So my sister was amazing at this game. Like, she was so good. She was a perfectionist at it. And it's really cool because I think back now, and she's a physician assistant now, very highly skilled. And so you never know, what happens. So anyway, so each of us are going to go through a couple different holiday fun and treats and go through that. So Karen, why don't you come up next?
My family is not big on holidays, but my brother and I used to love Black Friday shopping. That's something we share.
Good one.
So on Thursday, Thanksgiving's Thursday, we would go to Black Angus to eat as a family, just the four of us. And because my mom was like, turkey's too big and it's just four of us, or the ham is too big and it's just four of us. And, we would give her a break too. So we would go Black Angus to eat. And then after that, my brother and I would leave to Target and Best Buy just to shop around. It was fun. It's really fun.
That's a really cool story. And so before Adriana comes in, I got to tell you this shopping. So at one point I had this one surgery, and I had to be in one of those little like scooters or something because of my leg. And so I said, this is going to be so cool. We can go Black Friday shopping and I'll take my scooter. Adriana's like, I am not going with you Black Friday, the crowds. I said, no, this will be perfect.
It actually was amazing because the scooter, people just moved over. Yeah. It's great. And if they didn't, they get their toes stepped on with the scooters.
It was so great. We had to buy all these care packages and put together all these care packages for kids because of the holidays. So I went in the scooter. And Adriana would just go
right behind her. And I was happy as a clam because she just, they moved over. It was great. Like it was normally so it would be really crowded. And you want to go, do you want to do that? Get a knee surgery and a scooter. It'll make you.
I know, we got to try that. Maybe we can do without that. I've always wondered, because I thought, you have to be respectful, only do it if you have a problem. But those are fun. That scooter, I saved it in like storage for a very long time. And then actually that scooter went to a family that really needed it. So it kind of felt good. But anyway, okay. So Adriana, how about you? Why don't you share?
So the question was, again, what was the question?
You can pick any holiday, but we're kind of veering towards like more the Christmas, Thanksgiving.
Like what did we do for Christmas? Or
no, it's like, okay, here, a holiday memory that brings
Okay.
Wait, that brings comfort, joy, or love at the highest. And so what we're doing is bring one that lifts us up. So if someone doesn't have one, another person can have it.
Okay, I'll pick Christmas then, because it is a very sentimental holiday for me. It's very different today how I celebrate, and varies from year to year. But when I was a kid, there was it was very peaceful time of the year. Everybody was so happy. And I remember my parents being very nice to each other. So that was the time of the year. It was very festive. I was decorating the Christmas tree. That was my duty every single year. And it's wonderful. Each time I think about it, it's very merry and happy. I feel so fortunate because of that. I have that memory and I can cherish that. And every year I get excited.
Okay, so here's a question for both of you. Do you think parents rise to the occasion for their kids to have a great Christmas? Like in some families don't celebrate Christmas, so I'm trying to be respectful. Whatever your holiday is for that year end, do you think parents go, okay, we have to really bring in our best peace, joy, love? And do you feel like it's work? So Karen, what do you kind of touched on that a little, why didn't they want to celebrate holidays? That's different.
My mom gets very nostalgic or melancholic when the Christmas gets here. And my dad, well, he's just like a whatever kind of guy, you know. I used to be big on Christmas when I was younger because presents and, you know, Santa Claus. I was 12 until I realized Santa Claus was not real.
Wait, he's not? He's not?
I was 12 years old when I realized that Santa's not real. So I was like...
The world shattered.
Oh no!
I know my brother.
Children listening in hospitals. Shh, go away.
Yeah.
Get those headphones.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, nowadays, well, since my brother's passing, we don't really do much, to be honest. It was one of his favorite holidays. Yeah. So
that's hard. So, and maybe your mom, may I ask, Catholic?
We're Christian.
Okay. Yeah. So originally she was Catholic, right?
Yeah, when she was younger. Yeah.
Okay. Because maybe that type of sentimentality towards the holiday is what Jesus did. You know, there's a respect maybe that she's honoring, that she doesn't just go all sparkly like presents and, you know, festive cheer. Maybe she's trying to
actually, no. It's funny. My mom grew up with four brothers, and her parents, my grandparents, who already passed away, they always had big parties at their house. It was like any occasion, it was a big party. So she grew up with like big party festivities and stuff. But when she came here to California, I mean, she had to leave her parents behind. So it would be hard for her because she missed those gatherings. So that she gets, I mean, she'll celebrate, she'll go shopping and, you know, she'll do tamales.
Nice.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah, she's just like,
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's shift a little. What about birthdays? Adriana, anything you would like to share on kind of?
Oh, I see you.
She's going to give a list because she has an upcoming birthday. See, it's a trick to get a list.
No, I think it's changed so much. Again, we weren't big on birthdays when we were young. I don't remember much of that, except being on the tennis court, which is totally fine. I do feel that I was so fortunate and lucky, and gosh, I really had a wonderful childhood in so many ways that I'm not that big on birthdays. And I think it's changed today. So if a lot of people do things differently. So I try to do different things every year. Maybe whether I was just going to say too, this for the holidays, you know, people celebrate holidays in different ways. Sometimes they don't have family to celebrate with, and neither do I, because they're all in Europe. So there's, you know, advantages to living in a place like this big city. You can volunteer at places. You can do so many things with communities, just from cleaning up the beach or go to the homeless shelter and prepare foods and serve the foods to homeless people and go to. We even have such a thing that you can go to a local elementary schools and read stories to kids. If you can't go to a hospital and drop off a care package, which I used to do and still do, prepare care packages and take it to kids and families and the staff and nurses and doctors. So you just, you can do so many things. So it just depends And or I take a surfboard and jump into the ocean and take the motorcycle for a ride, and very simple. It's just,
You have an interesting situation because, and it's similar to my grandmother. Your birthday's in a December month. My grandmother's was on Christmas Day. And one of my best friends, who's a board member, her daughter is right next to Christmas as well. So those people, it tends to get brought in at the same, like, celebratory or present. People don't necessarily separate the two. I'm very different on birthdays, maybe because mine's in the middle of the year. It's like, whoa, here we go. And so it reminded me, there's a really cool person that I know. Her name's Jessica. She came out with her family. Her younger sister was 10 years old. Her name is Caroline. And they came from Chicago. Caroline had a brain tumor at age 10. And Jeffrey, Jessica, Caroline, and their mom came for a program. And so Caroline did every activity. She had a brain tumor, so they had to take part of her face surgically to remove the brain tumors. They didn't go sometimes they go through like the top of the head or a certain area. And I'm not going to obviously get graphic on a Little Starlight episode, but they had left it open, that part of her face open, because of continuing brain tumors coming. They didn't want to close it up. So when she came, you could see inside her face, and sometimes it would bleed that area. And this little kid, and she was on oxygen as well. This little kid was so adorable and so full of life and laughed at everything. She would laugh so hard. I was teaching her tennis, and there she has the oxygen. And then, she couldn't see the ball as well because that whole side of her face. And so we would play and she would laugh. We'd do arts and crafts and all these activities. And I was thinking about this, just 10 years old, and she's finding a way to have joy. And her brother and sister were there, and Caroline passed away. The doctors, despite their best efforts, they couldn't do anything more. And so she passed away. And so Jessica, this is back, Caroline passed away in 94. Okay. So we're talking, these are decades and decades ago. So ever since, Jessica lets me know it's her birthday. Okay. She announces it to this day, like her birthday's coming up. And so, well, by the time this airs, it's going to be over. But, she is so cute. She will say, and she calls me Andrea Jaeger. It's never Andrea. Andrea Jaeger, are you going to be sending anything for my birthday? My birthday's coming up. And she's
that's so great.
And she's an adult now. And so it's the cutest thing. And I think about what that must have been for that family to go through. And so I cherish the birthdays. The other thing about birthdays, when I grew up, my mom made a birthday table. So we would come out from our room, and all of a sudden there'd be like this cake that she had made and all these things. And so I've done that for people for ages, and they're like, can you maybe lose the birthday table part of it and just let's go to dinner or something? Because there'd be balloons. I do streamers. The whole room would be decorated. They couldn't even get in the room. So I would go to town. And that was really fun. But I think about this family a lot, and all the kids, because when I first volunteered, it was at the Moffitt Cancer Center, and I was doing research programs for the foundation, and I was in charge of delivering mail to all the patients in the hospital. And I'd be so excited. I'd get them presents, and mail would come in for them. And there would be times that I'd go, and then the bed would be made or the room would be clean. I'd be like, oh, awesome. And I go to the nurses' stations. I'm like, oh, when did Johnny go home, or Susie, or whoever it was? And they said, well, that child that's passed. And so what I found was a lot of kids held on. And I looked at this over years and years and even decades. A lot of kids held on for their birthday, and they held on for Christmas. And then they'd pass away after. And so that's why Little Star Foundation does year-round programs. So I would get together like Valentine's and Easter. And every day I try to do some kind of celebratory, because in a sense, when you think about it, we never really know when our next, what our next day is, how many days we have. And so each day can kind of be a celebration. So I definitely go to town on the birthdays, and I'm kind of like Jessica. I will. It's not that I let people know it, but what happened with Little Star Foundation, before we were called something different, now we're more reflective about the kids and the ones that have passed on and are still here. And that's why it's Little Star. But when you submit your paperwork for a nonprofit organization, it's lengthy. It's a process. It's really involved. And I love that because it's serious. And you send it in to the government and then you wait. And when I did that, all these decades ago, I waited and nothing came back. No approvals, nothing had come in. And I called the lawyer that helped me on it every week. I had a vice president. There's a line that if you didn't have a vice president, that probably looks different. So I had this really great, perfect vice president. I did the timeline, the budget, all these things for the next 10 years. I filled in everything the best I could. Still didn't hear anything back. So I called the lawyer every week and months went by. And finally what happened was he called me up and he says, I've never had this in my entire career, but you won't believe this. You got your approval. And I was screaming. I was so excited. And I mean, I'd been running programs myself on my own money, all my prize money earnings. I gave, all to it. And so all my career earnings went to there. But if anyone else wanted to donate, I had to wait for that 501c3 status for them to get a donation. So I gave without getting a donation from it. But anyway, he said, it's stamped on your birthday. They approved your foundation on your birthday. And so that's part of why I still have an exuberance of letting everyone know, like we do celebration issues.
So I can say you bunch of balloons and cake, and you just like, it's just another one.
No. But that's
2 cakes. That's amazing that it got approved on your birthday. That's very special.
It's like God gave the confirmation, like they gave the stamp of approval. They're going to help. I'm on the right path. And I knew I was, but it was just really cool. It was just something that was so special that happened. But anyway, so Karen, how about you with birthdays?
I wasn't big on birthdays when I was younger. I mean, my parents would take me out to eat. But now I think it started in 2021 where on my birthday, I travel. So I take at least 4 or 5 days. I went to Seattle in 2021 because that was the state I really wanted to go to. And I stayed there for 4 days with 2 of my friends. And then this year it was just, we stayed at a staycation. So we got a hotel here in downtown and we just stayed and we looked around and we went on a little boat cruise thingy with breakfast. It was pretty fun. And then I'm already planning for next year. I still don't know what I want to do.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I want to travel.
That's amazing. Way to go.
Yeah. So for anyone out there, and we just gave a few examples, but when you think about it, sometimes an experience will come in that you're like, oh, but then this happened on a holiday. Like I know several people who don't celebrate something because something happened that was maybe negative or traumatic or just heartbreaking for them. And the best way I can share with that is, well, then replace it with something that is inspiring, that does bring you joy. And even if you don't have that yet, have someone else's cheer you up, because even like hearing your different stories, Karen and you, Adriana, it gets you excited for a holiday. So it's a lot of, and that's what it'll be interesting going into these episodes now, where we're going to share a brief summary on the previous 5 episodes, because these people and the other guests of Little Starlight, they have shared ways where life hasn't always been easy, but they've found a way to lift up their spirit and to have things, whether it's a divine hand on your shoulder or in your heart or something of that nature, that can really be a special message. So for any of those, which I know there's some questions I didn't answer here, I will do my best again, as I always do with like the emails and texts and phone calls and things like that. So now we're going to go into the episodes. I'm going to have Adriana go first on Christine. And what I really love about this too is a lot of people come back and talk to me about what they've picked up on an episode. Maybe your contemplations in the audience, maybe yours is the same as ours, and maybe they're different. And so that's why I love these as well, because we kind of find out something that maybe we didn't catch the first go around when having an episode. So Adriana, what were your thoughts, or what stood out for you with Christine Brennan when she came on?
So many things on all of our guests, but if I had to really narrow it down to just like one highlight, I really loved the relationship she had with her father and the family, and how inspiring it was for her when her father expressed to her that she can do anything she would like to do, she can do, that she can do it. And that's beautiful. And then her memoir to her father, and vastness on her knowledge of what she does. It's truly inspiring. We had such a short amount of time, and I could tell she has so much to share, so much knowledge and information.
Great points, really great points. How about you, Karen?
I wasn't long on that episode, right? I was just
popped in.
I popped in and I popped out. But when the few minutes I got to talk to her, she was very energetic, and I really like her vibe. She's I really like. I am always interested about when people are like can talk and talk and talk. I'm very quiet, so
who does that?
Yeah, who does?
Besides Christine, she gets paid to do it, and then there's me. True. Okay. Good points. All right. So for me with Christine, what I love about her episode and her is that she represents, and each of the guests, they really represent genuinely who they are. And so when she says, I choose happiness, she chooses happiness. You can see it, like what you were saying, the energy that she brings. And Adriana, you're talking about the family relationships, and maybe that helped her, choose happiness along the way. But she doesn't have the easiest of job. And, yes, she's a USA Today columnist. She does commentating for ABC News, PBS, NewsHour, CNN, and National Public Radio. And so the stories that come out of there, sometimes they're not always bliss, and she covers them. And yet she comes back, whether internally, externally, however she presents herself, she chooses happiness. And you can tell that. And she's had a long career, a very successful career. There's just joy that exudes from her. And I think that's so awesome, because she's been through the trenches of a lot of things, and life probably hasn't been so easy. She's chosen career a lot. We heard how she had to sacrifice some things and missed out on things, and still loves it and has happiness. So that's awesome. All right. So Karen, you're up again. Who do you think you have coming up here with Joe? Joe Weatherman, the American Ninja Warrior.
True. I mean, it's funny because he's a weatherman, but he likes extreme challenges, obstacles. That is the opposite. He's fun. He's very fun, and the fact that he's like doesn't give up on the Ninja Warrior, and he's gone so far. It's very interesting.
I told you, or I mentioned on that episode, I was trying out for one thing that they gave to the public, but then they cancel it last minute.
Oh, yeah.
And we were on one of the trips, and even back from our very, very first program ever, we always had a ropes course. And all the kids, whether they had lost a leg, whether they were going through chemo, no matter what, everybody went on the ropes course. And so, there's different levels of ropes course, of course. And one time when we were traveling and we were running programs, Adriana and I, there was a ropes course, which I did not do because it was huge. It was like up in the treetops, and Adriana did it, and she just kind of floated across, and she was like,
well, you're buckled to a massive rope. You're not going anywhere.
I don't know about that. But anyway, so Adriana, what did you feel about with Joe's episode?
Joe, his passion for whatever he chose that he was doing, all these guests, their passion it's truly inspiring. I mean, he was a weatherman, but he could talk about how he got into it and how fascinating the nature and weather and all that, storms, and and then American Ninja Warrior. I mean, look at him. It's incredible. And he's a family man too. It's dedication and passion and that hard work and discipline.
Yeah, that was what struck me as well, which I noticed his will and determination. I mean, you could tell that even when we were in person watching American Ninja Warrior in person. It's very different than when you watch it on TV. You really see even more so the athleticism, because you're looking up at some of these, and they have to film at night, so because they want a dark background, and so the bars and things can be wet because of the dew or, just the moisture that's in the air more so at night. And it's pretty incredible. All those athletes, they definitely train hard and work hard. And if you fall, it's can hurt. It can hurt a lot on those courses. So his will and determination, I love seeing. And I can relate to that mindset too, because it's like, okay, I know if I'm called to get somewhere, I'll get there. I'll soar, I'll leap, I'll fly, whatever it needs to do. If I feel that God and the universe has said, go forth, I go forth. And, sometimes you don't always land in water like they do, or a pad, like in the gym. Sometimes it's like splat, but it's like, you just keep doing it. So next up, we had Susan, a former FBI agent. And let's go, Karen. What did you think about Susan's episode?
I think you should go first, Andrea. Hold on, Karen.
Yeah.
Gotta take turns.
And no, Andrea, you're first now.
Okay. All right. What I like so much about Susan is that her service hasn't ended. Her career, her FBI agent career has ended, but she continues helping in those fields. She continues having friends in the industry. She continues helping in her community with service. And she has a heart of service. And she's also she's humble about what she's done. I mean, I know many things that weren't part of the episode there. And it's just really cool, because it's not as if she was, built to have some kind of career where you can, run and jump and do all the other things that I'm not going to say on a podcast that you have to do if you're an FBI agent. But, those are tough things to all of a sudden process to do. It's not so easy, and mentally and emotionally. And a lot of those families suffer. A lot of those families, they sacrifice having the best possible opportunity for relationships to work, or the best possible opportunity for children, because their job switches, so much and is very heavy emotionally. And so sometimes it gets taken home, and it's a calling. And so I think it's really cool how she's continued her service calling in other ways as well.
Okay. Karen.
Me. I love Susan, to be honest. Just the fact that she was a former FBI, and then she talked about how FBI doesn't really operate how Criminal Minds does. I think it was so interesting, and she shared her stories that she worked on when she was in the FBI, and I could go on forever with her and talking about cases.
She knows that. She told me after, she called me after, she goes, give Karen my number and my email.
Yeah, I was like,
she said it to both of you, but she goes, I think Karen had more questions. And I'm like, she definitely did.
She reminded me she would be David Rossi from Criminal Minds.
So cute.
So cute. All right, Adriana.
I think for me, right from the beginning, she said, when I'm like, why did you want to be why did you choose this path, an FBI agent? And she said, well, my story is not that interesting. And I'm like, yeah, let's hear it. And she started with, I wanted to help people. And that's where I was like, all right, that's really something. It's just to be that young and to have that mission and that calling, like you, Andrea, and Karen, you too. It's that strikes you and motivates you and inspires you to want to be that way.
You have that too. You have service,
in different ways. Yes.
Yeah, different ways.
But I still like riding motorcycles and surfing.
Totally like those fast sports where I'm on the side.
Risky.
Yeah, like just a little bit on the edge, but an FBI agent too.
A lot.
FBI agent too. There is an edge to everything, I think, in just different ways.
Absolutely. I think you summed that up well, because she had that, but and that's the whole point. Everybody has. We've had amazing guests. I mean, I'm so grateful to all the guests that have come on, and the ones scheduled to come on that we have scheduled throughout the year. And we're going to keep going next year. And what's really cool is we all have a story, and we all, we can be our own cheerleader too. It's not as if sometimes it does help to have a cheerleader. I'm not the kind of person that requires a cheerleader. I will say this, like I'll get up and do my work, whether I'm paid or not. And there's decades where I haven't been. But the thing is, what is great is when you find what you're doing, it helps even if you don't have a cheerleader, you don't want to have the opposite, because it's really hard to do a job. I am incapable of doing my job really well, which is a calling, if I have a lot of the other side where it's opposite, the naysayers or the people who are just absorbed in criticisms or negative thought patterns, or, like it, and I'm saying these people are very, they can be successful, they can be doing good things, but think about that. We'll go a little bit more into that when we talk about Sue Ludwig's episode, and that's in this episode. So I'll bring that up later. But what I want to say is that we all have something really extraordinary. And sometimes, like in your story, Adrian, a lot of times you're like, you got dimmed. People like try to put a cover on you to not have you have the ability to get out and have opportunities as much as.
When did that happen? What are you talking about?
Sometimes when you're younger, and some people have had
no, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And some people have had less opportunities than even you have had. And so we all have a different journey to get somewhere. But the fact of the matter is we all are driven by something that's in our hearts. And to live that, you feel so much happier and fulfilled, and you attract, I think, more of what you're excited about in your heart too. So, okay, maybe I'll just have to edit that whole part out.
So Susan, yes, we need to take mine out too. The one, and I was screaming. Brad, there you go.
Brad, okay, we're going to keep this part in. Brad is this great guy. He's been helping us. He's kind of come in on the 2/3 part of this year of our production, and he is so much fun to work with. He, like the first, I don't know, 7 that he's done, or the last 7 that he's helped produce, because I go through the edits with him, and I'd be laughing at some of the things. I'm like, gosh, I should look at myself more. When I think I look up, and I got to quit looking up. when I think I'm saying something really profound, I have to keep my head down, because otherwise they're just seeing like my chin or my nose. So he's really gentle when he gives advice. He's been having this camera he's been wanting to send to me. Same as Mike, who's been helping us. He's had this camera for me for months, and I'm not afraid. But it's just, that's one more button I got to figure out. And right now I'm really comfortable with our buttons. And so I just want to get through a little bit. So, okay, here we go. Michael Singer. Wow. What an episode that was. So Adriana, would you like to start on that?
Yes, that was an interesting episode, because I done a lot of reading and research on the spiritual part. I went through a journey in my 20s. And so I thought, I was like, this is going to be great. I feel very advanced. And boy, I was really humbled. I think that's what I took from the episode. I was really, really humbled. And I'm like, wow, I've thought of this for the audience. Go and read his book. Now he's an amazing spiritual and just a human being that's also there for us to inspire us and motivate us, and is helping others. It's wonderful.
Hey, Karen.
Go read his book.
All of them, all 3.
Yeah.
3? Oh no, actually, there's more than 3. I've had more than.
Start with 1 and then
keep going.
Keep going.
Start with Untethered Soul and keep going forwards and backwards on his list.
And if you want to change your life, read Michael's book.
Read Michael's books.
True. Okay, before you start, Karen, a long time ago, Oprah Winfrey said, and we take our knowledge from all different places. This was in the news. But she said, I always repeat things 3 times. And I ask people to repeat it back to me, what I've said, because so often people don't listen the first time around. And so I tried that out for a while. And then a few people said, why do you keep repeating yourself? Why do you keep doing that? I'm like, well, did you hear me the first time? And they said, yes. And it's like, okay, so you don't have to repeat it 3 times if they hear and process it the first time. But it goes the other way too. It's like,
it works with names too. If you want to really remember the name, you repeat what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm saying absolutely. I'm me being the brilliant sort with that. All right, Karen, go ahead.
For Michael, he's very profound. His advice, on how to deal with daily things and to let it go. And I mean, it's easier said than done, to be honest. But I'm practicing it. I'm practicing that. I usually get it's not road rage, but nowadays people don't know how to drive. So
So, being from California, that's yes, a whole different thing too.
Yes. So and now there's more young people driving too. So, sometimes I hate people that don't put their blinkers on. Ugh, that really gets me. So now when that happens and they just, go to my lane without putting blinkers, I just say, Karen, let it go. It's out of your control. Just let it go. I start singing like Frozen, let it go.
Perfect. Michael.
So Michael's is great even for another one if you want to read his books for road rage. Okay, so I will tell this to Karen. There is a very good show. Karen, you got to watch for road rage. You'll never want to have a road rage again after you watch this. It's called Beef on Netflix.
Beef?
Yes.
Beef? It's a movie?
Beef, BEEF. It's a series, limited series, and it's based in LA. And it's based on the road rage, and you'll never want to have one after you watch it. And you'll like it.
Know what? It's funny. I watched the movie Unhinged.
Okay.
I'm never honking.
Never honk again.
I'm missing those. They don't have those on Gaia.
No, they're...
I mean, he was honking, but he got mad. I was like, I don't I'm not honking.
I think Gaia is perfect for you, Andrea. That's fantastic.
Okay, here we go.
What about you, Andrea?
Okay, so
Michael.
What I really enjoyed with Michael is that his kindness matches his wisdom. A lot of times when these people are very popular, they've reached a certain level in their life, and they can think of people that may have not achieved as much as they have according to their minds or, society's minds. They can treat those people as an afterthought. And when we asked questions, he made sure that each of us had understood how he answered it. He answered it to the fullest, and he wanted to be sure of that. And I think that was so cool how he did that. And then what's interesting is last night, so the night before we're doing this episode, I was at a restaurant, and this person came over who used to work at the restaurant and a stranger to me. I didn't know the person other than when I'd seen a couple times at the restaurant, and sat down at the table, just sat down and started doing boo-hoos. Like, this happened to me and that happened. I had a divorce. Someone took this money. I had my, father's having a health issue. Just kind of went on and on during this. And it was really interesting because I happened to be with the same vice president of the foundation who for 38 years has told people, do not bring your fluff to Andrea. Don't bring your pity party if she's working. That you just really not advisable. And so what happened was Michael Singer's books got brought up, and it was like, okay, you know what? Why don't you go? She was, the person was going to have to move and had all these things. And it was, okay, well, here's the Untethered Soul. Have you read it? No. Okay. So can you get that? Yes. I'll go to the bookstore this evening. I'll go to the bookstore and talked about the workbook, talked about Michael Singer, talked about him being on the podcast. There's avenues. If she didn't have the money to go buy the book and the books in the workbook, that she could go on the podcast and listen and hear him and hear his wisdom. And the person was so excited. Okay. So excited. And you never know the impression. I mean, there's people I sit with and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so great what you do. I love what you do. I'm going to send you a donation tomorrow. And they either forget or they never really intended. I mean, you never know how people's intention carries through later. You hope it is. And a lot of people have done that, but a lot of people I've seen the opposite too. They don't come through on what they say. So before I left the restaurant, I asked the person their phone number. And I said, let me have your phone number. I'm going to text you his books and his name. So that night, before I went to bed, I received a text with a picture of Michael Singer's books. It was in her home and she had them in her hand, and she bought the Untethered Soul and bought the workbook. And I just thought, wow, there's how quickly life can be transformational, for anybody. And that's what I feel with what Michael Singer has done with his book and how he's shared. But it's a capability we all have. It's the capability of what, Karen, what you're saying, you could share with the next person, hey, letting go has helped me in this road rage. Or, Adriana is saying, buy his books. And she's, studied we're a little similar, where we've studied a lot of things that we feel is spiritually uplifting, not spiritual development in our life, our whole lifetime. And sometimes it's just your heart opening up and saying, okay, this is what I has really resonated with me. This has meant something to me, and I want to share that with you. And so that was just such a cool thing that had happened. And I thought at that moment, because when we started the podcast, I had no idea if we were going to have one viewer, if we were just going to come on for one episode, if people were going to show up as guests, if hosts were going to show up. I had no idea what was going to happen. And to think of, and this is the summaries that we do, it isn't just a fill because we don't have a guest ready. It's because we've had another five extraordinary guests that have been so inspiring. We want to make sure if you didn't see an episode, you have a chance to learn something about it and maybe go back. And so I'm really grateful for that. The other thing that I we talked about in his episode is when you're going through something that's really tough, and we each have our way of processing this, but I've certainly told this to a lot of people, and I've told myself, and it's worked. I was on hold for a really long time with someone with cable and phone, and it was just this adventure and some other things as well. And I thought about that line. The line is, the moment in front of you is not bothering you. You are bothering yourself about the moment. And so that's from Michael Singer, and that's from his book. And you really stop and you think about that, and it's like, so true. Why am I going to let something like this aggravate me? Probably the only thing that really gets under my skin is I'm really protective over others. It's DNA. So if someone harms someone I care about, horns come out. And it's like, because I'm like, stop harming someone else, because
one day there is a show for you, Andrea.
But it's true. It's like I've always wanted to, if someone's even done something to me that didn't really bother me that much, but I'm like, I need to stop this right now, because if they feel comfortable doing something to me and I'll be okay, what about the next person who may not?
Yes,
be okay?
You're trying to interrupt the pattern.
Yeah. So I try.
But it has to be, it
has to be more in the way that's this.
Right.
Which brought me up to something I brought up in his episode, which I'll have to give the preface on this part of it in another episode, because it's a whole other episode, really cool story. But when I mentioned that light attracts light and love attracts love, and I brought that up because I've seen that in action now, and it's much more visible. I mean, you kind of know things, and a lot of this people probably know, but it's like, if you remember it and put it in action, your life is transformed. That's the difference. We're not saying we are here, we present to you these people and these messages, and you've never heard them before. You've heard them before. You've heard it in a different way before, but have you incorporated it in and taken action? Because if you do, you really do feel more inner peace. You really do feel more fulfilled, and things can open up. And so that was really something profound for me, because I enjoyed that, and I've seen that, because, the light and love are a great combination. They collaborate and they connect. And when someone might have more, like Karen, you have this kindness and sweetness and care and love, and it just comes across in your smile. I mean, even now, like, you're just smiling, and it brightens people's day, and it changes
it's simple things. Yes, it doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be a donation.
Yeah, correct. Exactly.
It doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It doesn't have to be you've changed jobs and now you're happy. It can be the simpler things. I mean, sometimes, Adriana will offer a suggestion of maybe someone hasn't brought it up before. And that's because she cares that, maybe no one's brought that up before, and it could help you. It could help the foundation, things like that. And that's how I feel, and was excited about that. And then Michael, with his Temple of the Universe that's outside Gainesville, Florida, inviting us all to go there. Mm-hmm. And he walks his talk. His heart is his life. And all these people, you see that in them. And it makes you feel, it's easier to feel that you can be yourself, however that is, because it does work. It can. Okay, so
Yeah, I tried.
Awesome. I was like, and that episode was so interesting because
yes, it was. It was.
It was. We each had a lot of questions and a lot of insight. We could have gone on for a long time.
I could go forever with them.
We're definitely going to have to. We have to figure out how to. That's what my goal is for next year. Somehow, figure out how we can make this like go to places.
What about Susan Ludwig?
We're going to go there. Yeah, Sue Ludwig. Okay, so
Ludwig.
Karen, how about your insights on that?
Oh, Sue, she has a heart of gold. I mean, working with premature babies in the NICU is, I wouldn't be able to. I couldn't even become a nurse after my experience with cancer. So, no. But yeah, it kind of fits her too because she's very calm and she's very loving and kind. So I know what she does is amazing. And I actually, I love her heart.
As a new friend, she's like a new friend for you.
Yeah.
She did have a great heart, and we when I titled her episode, I did it as "Baby Yourself a Little" and address work and life burnout with neonatal therapist and specialist Sue Ludwig, and that's what. Another thing that happens with all these people is they do something really great and extraordinary, and they want to make sure they bring it to others. They bring it to as many people as possible. And that's what she was doing. She realized she learned these lessons. It incorporated in her life. It benefited her life. And wait a minute, the caregiver system is burnout. The caregiver system is struggling and hurting. And this is, an important book that she's put out there. And we mentioned it before in her episode, but just in case anyone missed that and wants to go back to it, but wants to get the book right away, it's called Tiny Humans, Big Lessons, How the NICU Taught Me to Live with Energy, Intention, and Purpose. And the other thing that was great is she talked about shiny people. She talked about how she, when she was in the NICU, it taught her to change things in her life. And we related really well because when you go to bring yourself to someone else who maybe has had a rough go, it's best to be your best in that situation. And so she said that what has helped her is to be around shiny people. And she actually used the term shiny people. And she said, because it's not that they haven't had an easier life. It's just that they've lived with their purpose, and they lived with an outpouring of this love and light. Again, the love and light. And it brought her to feel better, to be better, to be more intentional about her time and her space. And what I really can notice with people, and maybe because I was super young on the professional tennis circuit, I ended up watching people more than interacting with people. So you pick on people's vibrations better, on their energy, when they walk in the room. How do they walk in the room? Do they walk in the room like they're everything? Or do they walk in the room like, I can be of service to someone else, And so there's something about that I'm so grateful about my professional tennis career, because I was able to travel the world to so many countries and almost be invisible. I mean, even though I had millions of people cheering, like whether on TV.
I don't know about the invisibility cloak.
I know, but I could, because like in Japan, people show up at the airport when you land. They're there to cheer you on, and people were everywhere. They were,
yes,
because there was only 3 channels back then. It wasn't like social media, but we had a lot of attention. But the fact was, I was able to be, in a sense, invisible in watching people. It was like a lesson of life when you go and see cultures in South Africa or in America. I was able to see how people use their power.
Oh my goodness.
Their money, their ego,
Oh my goodness, Andrea.
You want to is that something that we should stop on this part? Should I move on?
Where are we going with this?
Oh, I was just saying that's kind of part of what all these people do. They've taken their life experiences and they're packaging them to share and give. And when you think about it, everybody has experiences that they can package for themselves and package for others. That's kind of what I was going with. But anyway,
great.
But and the other thing is, it was interesting. Right after her episode, I have a sweatshirt that it says, "Stay close to people that feel like sunshine." And it's funny because I don't want to wear it out. So I don't wear it, because I don't want it to get ruined or get stained.
You have got to wear that. It's such a great.
It's such a. But I look at it every day in my closet. So I look at that.
No, but you have to wear
as a reminder. I will.
So you gave me a sweatshirt too. That says exactly that. And I wore the crap out of it.
See, no, they don't have that.
It was white. It's no longer white.
I got 2 of them. So this was, many, many years ago. Well, maybe now.
And everybody loved that sweatshirt too. Everybody looked at it and they were like, "Oh, that's so great."
Yeah, it's a really cool sweatshirt. So now I know why I saved it. I can send it to you for your birthday.
No.
Yes, absolutely. It's perfectly white.
I always get extra large sizes, and then
I can't get sizes right for people.
I always make it work.
In Sue Ludwig's package, because we send care package, because all these guests come on, they don't ask to be paid. They don't ask for anything. They come on for the goodness of their heart. So when we send these little care packages, and I looked around and I found t-shirts and I didn't know her size. So I got medium. No, I got medium. Oh,
it's great. I love them all. I always make it work.
That's our volume 4 of this. We certainly hope you've enjoyed it. We have a terrific lineup coming up, very exciting episodes to come. And meanwhile, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of the Little Star Light family and Little Star Foundation's family. And happy whatever day is present with you. Happy day for you, and light, love, and blessings too. Yay.
Yay.
All right.
Until next time.
Until next time.